What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Cage My IQ. We are back after a month and a half hiatus. Took off for the holidays, had some personal matters to take care of, but I am back to give you guys my four card predictions for UFC 284 live from Perth, Western Australia. This is going to be a banger of a pay per view headlined by a lightweight championship matchup between the champion Islam Makhachev, ranked number two in the world, against ranked number one Alexander Volkanovski, aka the featherweight champion uh, of UFC. He is making the move up to challenge Makhachev, and that's why we got a nice co-main event for the interim featherweight championship. As you see down below, we'll get into that later on. It's going to be between Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. But of course, before we get into any action, this is Cage My IQ. All I ask for you guys to do is follow us on all social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Please head to our YouTube page at Cage My IQ. Give us a subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that whenever I put any of the content out for MMA or for wrestling, you guys are the first to see it. And then please, of course, smash the like button down below this video and hit us up in the comment section. Give me your thoughts and opinions on my predictions and who do you got winning on this card and what kind of bets you're looking to do for UFC 284. But let me get started with the prelims and I'll work my way up to the main card, of course, you guys know. And then once again, usually I'm doing this with my co-host Jim. He's a little busy this week, but he will be back next week so we can go back and forth between our picks. But this is just going to be me this week. Let's get started with the first fight on the prelims. We got a featherweight matchup between Sabara Tukugov, who is the minus 500 favorite, going up against Elvis Brenner, plus 400 underdog. Brenner is taking this fight on short notice. I believe 1 to 2 week notice. He's taking the place of somebody else. But first, you got Tagugov. He likes to control the center of the octagon. He likes to throw a lot of calf kicks and kicks to the side of the ribs. He focuses more on his striking. He likes to lean with the counter hook and the jab. He's basically all about the counter movement. He lets the other fighter dictate the pace, and then he throws off of that. But that fighter is kind of passive and lets Tukugov get going. That's when you start seeing him pushing forward and just start throwing those powerful combinations. And Brenner is the type of guy who's going to look to grapple more. He does have a little bit of power, but in this matchup, I feel like he's going to be heavily outmatched. And that's why I got Tukugov by decision in this fight. I think he's just going to get the counter strikes going. He's going to land those really good shots. He's going to punish Brenner. He's going to stuff the takedowns. And he's going to stay at distance so that Brenner can't get anything going. And then he's just going to touch and go. And that's how I feel like Tukugov is going to win by decision here. There's chances that he's going to have to knock out Brenner because, just like I said, those overhand shots are very powerful of his. I just feel like he's going to win by points in this one because he's going to try and stay clear of those takedown attempts that Brenner's going to offer. So I'm going in this matchup, I'm going with Tukugov by decision. Moving on to the next matchup on this card, we got a featherweight bout between newcomer Blake Bider going up against Shane Young. I'm kind of surprised that Bider is the underdog here at plus 110. And then you got Shane Young, who's the minus 180 favorite here. I know Shane Young is the veteran coming in this one. He's fought 3 or 4 times in the UFC, but he doesn't have that great of a record. He comes in here fighting City Kickboxing. He's all about the movement. He throws pretty decently. He does have power hands and he has decent grappling. But there's nothing really that stands out for me from Shane Young, especially coming in this matchup. The only two guys that he beat were entry level guys, and then any step in competition that he lost those matchups. Whereas you got Blake Biter coming in here, he's a good prodigy coming out of CFFC. He was the champion there. His last two fights, he won by inside the distance knockout, especially in the last fight. It went the third round, and he was able to get the finish. He's the type of guy that's going to come in there and just throw with those nice boxing hands. He likes to throw the jab and then throw the hook and then a jab combination. But like the one knock on him is he can get hit at times because his hands are always down low. But the sneaky part about him is he has really good jiu-jitsu. He knows how to get inside, grapple up with you, and then look for those openings on the back of his opponent to look for submissions. It kind of reminds me of Tesura Tayar, where he throws the combinations and throws the strikes to get into entry level, and then he looks to jump on the back, pull his opponent down, and try and get them to tap or just get the fight to the ground, where he has very good transitions and very good ground and pound or submission attempts. In this matchup, I'm going with Blake Biter by decision here. I feel like he's going to do a lot of just posting up, grappling up against the cage, throwing elbows and strikes. I think he does just enough in this matchup to beat Shane Young. I think he's the better fighter here. I think this is going to be a close matchup because Shane Young does have the experience. I feel like he's going to come in more prepared, and Biter could come in a little bit nervous. But at the end of the day, I think Biter gets this done and ekes out a 29-28 decision victory over Shane Young. Moving on to the women's matchup on this card, we got a women's strawweight bout between Loma Lookboonmee going up against Elise Reed. Loma comes in the minus 275 favorite, whereas Elise Reed comes in at the plus 230 underdog status. So we got Elise Reed. She's come down to CFFC. I believe she is 1-2 or 1-3 in her UFC career. She's really good at the stand-up game, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu background. She has good cardio with her striking. She's always trying to move forward, throwing those hand strikes and mixing the leg kicks. The one knock against her which is a huge knock, is her takedown defense. In the last couple fights, she's been taken down like a whopping rate of 4 to 5 takedowns a fight. She can't seem to get up, and she has improved the get ups from getting taken down. So a lot of her opponents are just taking her down, laying on her, and then throwing the ground and pound. And going up against somebody with the Muay Thai and grappling background as Loma Lookboonmee, it's going to be a tough task for her to get the victory here. Loma has really good leg kicks. She likes to rotate the leg kicks with her overhand striking, but a lot of her striking is predicated on getting into the Muay Thai clinch, throwing elbows in the clinch, and then throwing her opponent down to the mat and looking to do some ground and pound and like transitions to look for good positions to finish the fight. And I think that's where it's going to go in this fight for Loma. I think she's going to take Elise Reed down several times and look for the finish. And if the fight doesn't go the distance that way, I could see Loma Lookboonmee getting the finish inside the distance by ground and pound. I'm going to go with round 3 ground and pound victory here. I think she gets 3 to 4 takedowns, possibly 5. does a lot of ground and pound work, and dominates the fight here. So I'm going Loma Lookboonmee by third round uh, ground and pound victory in this women's matchup. Moving on to the next fight on the prelims, we got a featherweight matchup between Jack Jenkins, who's minus 330 favorite, going up against Don Shainis, who is the plus 260 underdog. The last time we saw Don Shainis in the octagon, he was finished very quickly in the first 2 minutes by Sadiq Yusuf. I don't blame him for that because he took the fight on 3 days' notice. But he has another tough task here against the heavy boxing favorite Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins reminds me of Jack Dilla Maddalena, where he has those quick, fast hands. He has great movement. And of course, he likes to use the jab, he likes to use the hook and the power shots. He has knockout power. He's going to attack you in the body, but it's all about the movement and with his hands, and then just how he moves around, avoids shots, and just throws volume at you. And Don Shainis is more of a grappler and decent striker, but it's going to be a tough task for him to go up against a quick guy like Jack Jenkins. That's why he's the minus 330 favorite here. I'm going to go with Jack Jenkins in this one by first round knockout here. I just think his hand speed and then his striking is just that vastly superior to Don Shainis, and I think he gets it done very quickly. I could see him getting it done in the first 3 minutes. So in this one, I got Jack Jenkins beating Don Shainis by first round TKO. Moving on to the next matchup, we got a lightweight bout between Jamie Mullarkey, a veteran in the UFC, going up against newcomer Francisco Prado, who is coming in on short notice for this fight after Mullarkey's opponent had to bail out. I believe he was supposed to fight Nasrak in this one, but Mullarkey comes in the minus 260 favorite, whereas Prado comes in the plus 210 underdog. Mullarkey is just a tough nosed guy. He gets going as the fight goes. Usually he starts out slow in the first round. He might take a couple shots to the face because he's not the best at blocking strikes defensively at times early, but as the fight gets going, he starts to get tougher and tougher. That's what he's known for, the toughness and taking big shots to the head. Like it seems like every fight he's taking one good shot there, it stuns him, but then he keeps on moving forward. He has good hands, and then his leg kicks are the equalizer there. He likes to throw the calf kicks and the kicks to the ribs to try and neutralize his opponent. That Devontae Smith fight is just the predecessor of what he does. He was able to neutralize Smith with the leg kicks, and then he just landed those strikes within the clinch along the cage to get the job done in round two. And Prado's a guy, he has a 100% finish rate. He's all about blitzing his opponent right away, throwing the strikes, grappling up against the cage, and looking for the knockout. But and then he's 20 years of age, so he has the youth. But one knock on him would be that the longer the fight goes, he starts to slow down tremendously, and because he gets fights finished so quickly, his cardio could be a question in this fight. We don't know how he's going to do the longer the fight goes because thrown like he does in a short amount of time, it doesn't translate to a 3-round fight if it goes that far. And the longer the fight goes, it's going to favor Mullarkey more than it does Prado. I could see a scenario where Prado can catch Mullarkey and finishes him in the first couple minutes with that style. But like I said, the longer it goes, the better chances Mullarkey has to just throw more volume, to attack his legs, to slow him down, and to possibly get a late finish here. But with this match, I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey by third round finish. I think he gets that finish. he's going to withstand that the first round onslaught of Prado. Prado's going to stun him, but just like Milwaukee always does, I feel like he gets through it. He keeps on moving. He withstands it, and then he gets better and better as the fight goes on. And before the fight goes to decision, I think he gets that late finish on Prado. So in this one, I got Milwaukee by third round finish. Moving on to the next fight here, we got a flyweight matchup between Kletson Rodriguez versus Shannon Ross. Kletson is the minus 275 favorite, whereas Shannon Ross is the plus 220 underdog. In this matchup, I'm just getting right out there. I'm favoring heavily Kletson Rodriguez. I think he gets it done by a decision. I just like the fact that he's very quick. He has those really good leg kicks. He's very strong in the clinch, especially in up close with those leg kicks. He can throw them from any distance. He has fast hands. And he has good takedown defense. He's just the better prospect here. First, you got Shannon Ross. Like I don't see anything special with Shannon Ross because he's coming in. Of course, he is the hometown kid from Australia, but what we see from his career, he's coming in off of a loss to Vinicius Salvador by punches on the Contender Series, and looking at his past, he is very chinny. He has lost by Rene could choke, and a lot of his wins are by decision, and it's all predicated by low volume and move it around and grapple. And I think that Kletson Rodriguez is very good against the grapplers. I think he can do enough to or the rack up the volume, dictate the pace, move forward, and to keep Shane Ross from get the fight going his way. And that's why I got Kletson Rodriguez by decision here. I think those leg kicks are going to slow down Ross, and I think he's just going to move around, circle around, attack at the lead leg, and to get enough volume to win each round. So in this one, I got Kletson Rodriguez by unanimous decision victory. Moving on to the next matchup here, we got a big time featherweight matchup between Joshua Kulabau going up against Melzik Bagdassarin. These two are in an even matchup, minus 110. This was a very tough fight to decipher here. You got Kulabau, who trains a lot with the city kickboxing. He has power hands. He's really good at throwing leg kicks. He throws the calf kicks and then the side kick. But then he has a good jab and overhand strike. He doesn't do anything great, but he has knockout power in his right hand, and he has really good cardio and movement, and that's what he relies on. The big moment that you're thinking of is when he dropped down Charles Jourdain with that right hand shot in a matchup where they fought to a draw, and you've seen how Charles Jourdain has done since then. The only guy that's really kind of gotten to Joshua Kulabau was Jalen Turner, and that's basically because he is a taller guy with a massive reach who is fighting at lightweight now, and this is a featherweight matchup. So, and Joshua Kulabau took that fight on short notice, so he is already coming from behind in that one, and he got caught early there. But since then, he's had two big wins back to back, and he's coming in here looking to keep that momentum going against a guy in Melzik who has really good leg kicks, especially the calf kick and the side kick, who likes to blitz his opponent, and then he mixes up the power hands within it. You saw in his two fights, first the Colin Anglin one where he just blitzed to victory. He just came after him very quickly in the first round, threw those hands, mixed in the leg kicks, pushed him up against the cage, and then looked to finish him. He slowed down a little bit in the second, but then he got the finish there. But then in the fight against Souza, he looked like a different fighter. He was more patient. He threw a lot more leg kicks and less hand strikes, and then he was just point fighting, hitting him, moving around, hitting him, circling around to the weak side of Bruno, and that's how he won the fight. It was just a completely different tactic that he used to get the victory there. He didn't want to go too fast too early and then to kind of blow his cardio out. And this one, he's going to have to probably do a little bit of the same here because of that. The power right hand of Kulabau, and then Kulabau is strong in the clinch. I think if the fight goes in the clinch, it's going to favor Kulabau because he's going to be able to slow the fight down. He's going to be able to grind on Melzik on the cage, and then he's going to be able to just do what he wants. But the fight stays at distance. I think it favors Melzik because he can point fight. But in this one, I'm going to go with Joshua Kulabau by decision. I think he could also get the finish here, but at the end of the day, I think he might get a knockdown, but he's not going to get the finish. But he's going to keep the fight close. He's not going to let Melzik get the distance point fight going. And I think he gets 29-28 victory here. I think he takes the first. Melzik might stay the second, but then he comes back and takes the third to get the 2 rounds for 1 victory in this one. So in this featherweight bout, I got Joshua Kulabau by decision. Moving on to the next fight, we got a light heavyweight battle between Modestas Bukauskas plus 200 underdog versus Tyson Pedro, who is the minus 250 favorite. And I'm loving this matchup. This is one of the bets that I'm leaning towards coming Saturday. We got Modestas, who is a plain old kickboxer. He throws a lot of leg kicks. He likes the calf kick, the side kick, the front kick, and the kick to the stomach. And then he mixes in striking, but he's mainly a leg kicker. And then he likes to stay from distance. And then he likes to do a lot of moving around. He has really good cardio with his movement. And then you got Tyson Pedro, who's on a roll lately. He has 2 straight first-round knockouts since coming back from a 3-year layoff due to injuries. He is a very powerful hand striker, but he has very underrated jiu-jitsu and submission game if the fight ever goes to the ground. You just don't see it as much lately because he is finishing guys on the feet. But his hands are very quickly. He knows how to move. He knows how to avoid shots. And if you stay in front of him, he's going to hit you. And I think that's something that Bukauskas does too much at times is he keeps himself in front of his opponent and he doesn't move his head. And he's been known to get hit a lot. You take the Jimmy Crute fight. They went for a couple minutes just train leg kicks, but then Jimmy Crute was able to pinpoint where Bukauskas' head was going to be, and then he hit him with the overhand shot, got him dazed, and then finished him on the ground for the first round finish. And I'm going to see the same thing here in this matchup. I think Tyson Pedro catches him with a quick shot and then finishes him in the first round with a knockout blow. I just think he's the quicker guy. I think he has the better tools. And Modestas is just a guy that I don't think he is UFC caliber because he only has good leg kicks. He needs to add a little bit more to his repertoire to get better. So in this one, I got Tyson Pedro by first round knockout. I think if you can get Tyson Pedro by KO, it will improve those minus 250 odds, and then you can get a better betting line on that. So Tyson Pedro knockout in this matchup. Moving on to the main card here, that we got a light heavyweight matchup between Jimmy Crute, who is the minus 225 favorite, going up against Alonzo Menafield. This is an interesting matchup. You got Jimmy Crute, who's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, to Jamal Hill, who knocked him out very quickly in that last fight. And then, of course, Anthony Smith. I thought Jimmy Crute was doing a great job with the mixing up the grappling and the striking in that matchup. But then, of course, you saw what happened at the end with the check of the kick, and he couldn't continue the fight afterwards. It was just a bad luck in that matchup, and that was kind of the start of Anthony Smith going on a nice win streak. There was that kind of fluke there, so he's making. So he's trying to come back from his 2 losses, but he's a type of fighter where it's a nice mixture, boxing and grappling. He kind of uses his striking to close the distance. He can knock you out with his knockout power, but then he has that judo background that he can use at times, where he gets up close, he gets you down on the mat, and then he can submit you. As a very underrated portion of his game. And one of his past fights, he did win by Kimura, and he can win by rear naked choke. It's just something that if the fight gets closed up, I think it could favor him because you got Alonzo Metafiore. He does have a grappling and striking background, but he primarily is a knockout puncher. He, early in his UFC career, he had a span of 4 or 5 fights where he finished his opponents in the first round. Then he had the two fights where he lost by decision to Devin Clark. He got him out early in the first, didn't get the finish, and then Devin Clark was able to grapple with him and kind of mitigate his striking, and then got the victory. And then Alonzo was able, in the next fight, got submitted, and then he started to get back into it, but then he lost to William Knight, got tired, and then now he's on a 2-fight win streak against Askar. And then in his last fight, he was able to get the finish right there. Like he just looks like he's getting better and better between the Askar Mazarov fight and then his past fight where he got the knockout, of course, on Misha Serkinov, but in the first minute of the first round. It was a very good to see him be able to mix up his skills in the octagon, but going up against a guy like Jimmy Crute, it's really the matter of can Alonzo knock out Jimmy Crute early, or can Jimmy Crute catch Alonzo Metafiore or grapple up Metafiore along the cage and kind of just get the fight grinding into deeper waters, because the longer the fight goes, Jimmy Crute has a better cardio, whereas Alonzo Metafiore starts to slow down as the fight goes. He has won the fight by decisions here and there, but I just don't see him doing that to a guy like Jimmy Crute. And that's why. And then on top of that, Jimmy Crute is 8+ years younger, so he's going to have the age on his side. So I feel like he's going to be more fresh, and with him being the bigger prospect, I just think he has more tools at his disposal than Metafiore, whereas he's not relying on the knockout power as Metafiore is. He can throw those leg kicks, high leg kicks, and he can mix up the striking with that, and then try to get close so that Metafiore can't throw those big bombs to look for the knockout. So in this one, I'm going with Jimmy Crute by submission, 3rd round. I actually think he gets the fight to the ground later when Metafiore gets tired, and then he gets the win by rear naked choke here. I think that's a very underrated part of his game, and that's a very good bet for this week is Jimmy Crute by submission, and I got him doing that in round 3. So once again, Jimmy Crute by 3rd round submission. Moving on to a heavyweight battle. I'm kind of shocked that this is on the main card. Somehow, every time he fights Justin Tafa, somehow lines up on the main card. But we got a heavyweight battle between Parker Porter versus Justin Tafa. Porter is the plus 120 underdog, whereas Justin Tafa is the minus 140 favorite. This is basically going to come down to whether Justin Tafa can knock out Parker Porter in the first round or not, because he's mainly a boxer. Everything's from the waist up with him. He just mainly strikes. He either knocks you out in the first round or you catch him as the fight goes longer and then 5 minutes. And then Parker Porter, pours out a lot of volume, but it doesn't have that much of power like Justin Taffa does. But he does have a decent chin, and then he has pretty good cardio for his weight. You expect him to be slow, but he can go pretty quick. And other than the Jailton Almeida submission in the first round last fight, he's looked pretty good with the striking. He was putting on a win streak there before losing to Almeida, where he is showcasing the large volume and the movement, and then getting the fight to the ground when needed to just mitigate his opponent's strengths. And I think that's what he's going to look forward to do in this matchup. He's going to want to get close to Tapa to keep him from knocking him out, throw at his weak side so that he can't stretch that shot at his face, and then either look to posture him up against the cage or just looking to keep on moving and to take him down and to do a little bit of ground and pound here. A lot of people are going to be on Justin Taffa by knockout here, but I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go Parker Porter by decision. I think that's the safer bet because I don't think he's going to get knocked down by Justin Taffa. I think you get like a 2-minute window with Justin Taffa. I don't know what the craze is with him because he's only won, I believe, once or twice in the UFC out of 5-6 fights. And it's either he catches you or you just dominate him in the matchup because he doesn't pour out a lot of volume. He is pretty low volume. He's slow. And it's just he relies on that knockout blow that he can hit you with at times. And I think Parker Porter can avoid those shots and he can throw the volume. And I think he's going to take this fight and win it by decision. And there's very good odds with that. So if you feel confident in Parker Porter, I would take him to win this either by money line or by decision. But I'm taking Parker Porter to win this by decision. Moving on to, I think, one of the best matchups on the card. We got a welterweight matchup between Randy Brown going up against Jack Della Maddalena. Randy Brown is the plus 250 underdog, whereas Jack Della Maddalena is the minus 310 favorite. This is going to be a barnstormer fight. We got Randy Brown coming in. He has moved his training camp, I believe it was last fight or 2 fights ago, to Philadelphia. His main training partner is, of course, Joe Pfeiffer, and it's based a lot of good dividends there since the move. He is one of the tallest fighters in the welterweight division. He's going to have the 5-inch height and reach advantage in this matchup. So I see him using a lot of that reach advantage against the boxer in Jack Della Maddalena. Randy Brown likes to hide behind the range, those leg kicks, and the double jab that he likes to use. You saw a lot of that in the Chaos Williams fight where he was just dupe and diving and just avoiding the shots with his movement, and then he's throwing this double jab, and then using the leg kick, and then the front kick to the stomach of Chaos. And that's going to be a big thing in this matchup because Jack Maddalena is a very quick striker. He has that boxing background. He has quick movements. He likes to use the jab. He likes to use quick combinations. He will circle around you. He'll take his time. He'll mix in like a leg kick here and there, but mainly he's throwing those combinations at you, and he's doing it very patiently. And as you've seen in his first 3 fights, he's won every fight by inside the distance with just his hands. He's very quick, very methodical. It's like even if you have the reach advantage, he's going to get inside of you and he's going to pick you apart with his hands, and he has good cardio. I want to see him and how he does the longer a fight goes. We just haven't seen it yet, and I think a guy like Randy Brown's going to be able to challenge him because of just the height and reach advantage. It's going to allow the fight to go longer distance. He's going to throw those leg kicks to keep Jack at bay, and then he's going to throw the double jab to gain some points on the board. But I think eventually, Jack Madeline is going to be able to get inside of Randy Brown. He's going to start throwing those combinations. And one knock on Randy Brown is he always gets hit in the face. He's not that great at defending strikes. It's just that he uses the reach as more of a defense mechanism than actually defending his face from shots. And once Jack gets inside of it, he's going to have a field day on Randy Brown. And that's why I think he gets the finish inside the distance. It's not going to be the first round. I think this is going to be the first time that he goes later in the fight. I think he gets it done by second round knockout here. I think it takes a little bit of feel with the Randy Brown. I think Randy Brown might actually win the first round with the leg kicks. But I think Jack Del Maddalena gets it done in the second round. I think he catches him inside close, uses the combinations, and then he gets it done with the overhand shot, and then he finishes him on the mat. So, and then that's going to put him into the top 15 range, possibly to get a welterweight big time fight in his next fight after this one. So in this one, I got Jack Maddalena by second round knockout. We move on to the title fights now. First, we got the co-main event. We got an interim featherweight championship matchup between the favorite Yair Rodriguez minus 165 favorite going up against Josh Emmett, who's the plus 140 underdog. Yair Rodriguez is a very good opponent. He's going to be a tough matchup for Josh Emmett. He throws a lot of leg kicks, a lot of volume. You saw that matchup against Max Holloway where he did lose, but he landed a lot of leg kicks, and he was able to almost go match for match with volume with Max Holloway. So that Max Holloway was able to do just a little bit more. But you saw the damage that Rodriguez did to the legs of Holloway, where he was basically able to slow him down. And he mixes up a lot of the jab and the hooks within that. And he has very good cardio, very good movement, and high volume, which is something you're going to need against a power puncher like Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, on the other hand, has that power hand, which in every fight he has at least garnered one knockdown in each fight. And he's a finisher. If he catches you with that hand, he's going to put you down. Calvin Kattar was able to withstand that. A lot of people think Calvin Kattar beat Josh Emmett, but that fight was a very close fight. It went down to the last round, and the judges went Josh Emmett's way. He was able to just go toe-to-toe with Calvin Kattar, and neither of them did enough to outdo the other, and it just went to the scorecard. But Josh Emmett has very good striking. He's gotten better as fights go on. He has good cardio, not better than Rodriguez, but he has a good cardio. But he's going to primarily be a grappler and then a striker. He's going to use the overhand shot, and then he's going to look to get up close and try and take down Rodriguez or push him up against the cage. I think that's his best weapon here, is to neutralize Rodriguez along the cage so he can't throw those leg kicks, and to immobilize him so he can just grind him up close, throw elbows, throw the knees, trying to take him down and do a little bit of ground and pound and avoid the high volume nature. Because if this fight is a volume base, right, Yair Rodriguez is going to run away with this fight. But if he can neutralize the range, get up close, then that's where it's going to favor Josh Emmett in this fight. So it's just a matter of what you think is going to happen and who you think is going to dictate it. I think Yair Rodriguez is going to end up dictating the majority of the fight. I do think you're going to see both uh, like things happen. I think you're going to see a lot of distance and then some up close fighting, and that's why it could be like a 3-2 fight or a 4-1 fight, depending on who can push their pace more. And I think Yair Rodriguez is going to push the distance game. He's going to throw a lot of those leg kicks. He's going to look to slow down Josh Emmett so that he can't move the way he wants to, so that the force of his power isn't going to fully be there. He's going to continue to move, continue to throw, throw. It's going to be probably 70% leg kicks and then 30% counter strikes with his hand, but he's just going to continue to move. He's going to avoid that knockout shot, and he's going to try and go to decision. I don't think he's going to finish Josh Emmett. There could be chances. Josh Emmett tends to take a lot of damage to the face because he leaves his hands low, but he takes a lot, and then he has a great chin. So I think he goes the distance here. But I got Yair Rodriguez becoming the interim featherweight champion by a score of 4-1 over Josh Emmett. I just think the volume game, the movement, and the cardio is going to be too much for Josh Emmett. But Josh Emmett might have a couple chances to swing for the fences late. I just don't think he capitalizes. So I'm going with the Yair Rodriguez by decision to become the interim featherweight champion. Moving on to the big main event of the evening. This is one of the biggest fights in the UFC. We got the number 1 pound for pound fighter and the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the main event. Champion versus champion. We got the lightweight championship matchup between Islam Makhachev, the champion, versus Alexander Volkanovski, the challenger, who is also the featherweight champion, is making the move up to challenge Islam Makhachev. Volkanovski dominated the featherweight division, decided that he wanted to move up the lightweight for a challenge. He wants to go for this belt. We see this happen all the time. But he's coming up the plus 300 underdog, whereas Islam Makhachev is the minus 380 favorite. This is the striker versus grappler matchup. Basically, that's what it's going to be. Islam Makhachev is the Habib Nurmagomedov protege. He relies on the Sambo background. He pushes his opponents forward. He grapples them down, looks to submit him, or he just throws at him within the clinch and gets the finish. He's dominated everybody within his path on his way to the championship belt the last time out. He did have a challenge with Oliveira, but he damaged Oliveira with those big overhand shots. And Oliveira wasn't able to use his tactic of taking damage to grapple his opponent to the mat and then to submit him. Makhachev was just too big, too strong, and too much for Charles Oliveira to withstand. This fight is going to be very complicated in so many ways, but very fun to watch. The one big thing will be, of course, is Islam's going to be the bigger guy. He's taller. He's going to weigh more, whereas Volkanovski is putting on weight because he's usually a featherweight, so he's usually at 145. But where he lacks in size, he's going to benefit in striking. He's the faster guy. He has the faster hands. He throws a lot of volume. He has great movements. And one very underrated part of his game that's going to come into play in this matchup is his takedown defense and submission defense. We saw in that Brian Ortega fight, Brian Ortega had him in 3 or 4 guillotine chokes and submissions, and he did not tap. He would stand those, and he was able to get out of them. He just has the heart of a lion, and he was able to stuff all, I think, 2 of the takedown attempts that Ortega did. And then other than that, he's been one of the hardest guys to take down, other than, of course, Kamaru Usman in the UFC. He has one of the best takedown defenses, and he's one of the best fighters when it comes to cardio. He just keeps on moving forward. He throws at you. He throws for days. He's one of the best volume wise. And as you see, he beat Max Holloway, who is one of the quickest guys in the UFC. He beat him 3 times and dominated him in that last matchup. This is a guy that can throw 200 to 300 significant strikes in a fight. He just keeps on throwing, keeps on moving. It's a testament to his training. And what the fight's going to come down to is who's going to instill their game plan. Is Makhachev going to be able to push Volkanovski back with the Sambo movement and to get him to the mat to neutralize him and look for the submissions? Or is Volkanovski going to be able to push forward, throw those strikes, and continue to move sideways to fight him at angles so that Makhachev can't get the better hand of him with the clinching up and pushing him up against the cage, where Makhachev is going to have the favor. A lot of people are going to be on Makhachev to win by submission in this one. I think this is very hard to pinpoint what's going to really happen here, but I think it's hard to not go with the odds here, especially the big odds here. You could easily go Islam Makhachev because he's been on a dominant run, but at the same time, Volkanovski has been on even better run at weight. It's just that these two guys are not the same size. But because Volkanovski is a striker and Makhachev is a grappler, I think there's path to victory for both guys. And I'm going to go with Alexander Volkanovski here. Everybody's on the Islam train, and people are always doubting Volkanovski. And I think at his best, Volkanovski shows up when people are down him and they're going the other way. It happens in every single fight that he's in. Even when he's the favorite, somehow people think he's going to lose. And I think he proves the doubters wrong once again in this one, in the move up. I just think his striking is going to be the neutralizer here. I think he's going to move around very good. He's going to avoid a lot of Islam Makhachev's grappling and submission attempts. I do think he gets taken down once or twice, but this guy gets up so quick, and this guy avoids so many bad situations. And he's probably been training for this for the past few months, just watching tape and then working with everybody there at City Kickbox. And I wouldn't be surprised if Adesanya has been one of the training partners there working with him with how he is. But I'm going to go with the underdog here, Alexander Volkanovski, and I think he gets it done by decision here. I think this is going to be a 3-2 round fight here. Could go down to the last round, I think. And if that's what happens, I give the edge to Volkanovski because I think he has the better cardio and the better strike. And you got to remember, the volume is a big deal. I think the judges lately have been favoring the volume over the grappling. And I think that the volume that Volkanovski pours out is going to overdo any grappling that Makhachev does. But Volkanovski needs to watch out for those submission attempts because being the smaller guy, that Makhachev is going to have an easier chance of locking in a submission on him than he would a true lightweight. But I'm going at Volkanovski in this main event to become the next double champion of the UFC. That will do with the UFC 284 picks and prediction show by yours truly, Cage My IQ. Of course, as I said before, please give us a follow on Twitter at Cage IQ. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Cage My IQ. Hit the notification bell. So any of the other videos that I put out, you guys are the first that sees it pop up on the notification bell. And then please smash the like button down below and leave us a comment on this video. We want to get the engagement going. I want to hear all of your guys' opinions on this card. Who you got winning and the bets that you got going on. you name it. You let me know in the comment section. I love seeing everybody's opinions on these fights. But I will be back next week with Jim to do our picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night. Talia Santos going up against Aaron Blanchfield in a nice big time women's matchup at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. But other than that, I will talk to you guys next time on another edition of Cage My IQ. See you guys later and have a good night.